Hi. I know it's been 3 months since my first YouTube video ever. It's not that I forgot about the channel, it's that I started a new job, and I live in Korea, so if you've ever lived here, I know I already said that, but if you've ever lived here or worked here, you know that starting a new job can be really stressful. It's really stressful, like, anywhere you start a new job, but especially in Korea, you're kind of like, the kind of job that I have, I'm like forced to essentially learn a whole new system with no training, and so it's just like hard, it's difficult, and it takes a while to get used to, and a lot of jobs in Korea you actually have to move apartments. I don't, because this is my apartment. I have a large dog, so it's just easier to have my own apartment, but I'm in a higher position than I used to be, so it was just like a lot of work, and I was really busy, so I wasn't able to record. Sorry about that. But anyways, welcome to my second YouTube video. Yeah. I talked in my first YouTube video how I want to talk about manga. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to do my top 5 manga, because I do consider manga literature. This is not a compilation of the best manga of all time. So if you see me talk about something, you're like, that's not even a good manga, blah, 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 blah. This isn't about objective truth. This is about subjective truth. This is the manga that I enjoy the most, that brings me the most pleasure, that I think is really, really good and deserves hype, more hype than it gets, which all of these are actually really popular, so they get enough hype. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. Yeah, let's get into it. Okay, my first manga is really, really famous and really, really well loved. So this gets like so much hype, but I just feel like I should hop on the hype train. And it's Death Note. I love Death Note. When I was a kid, I low-key based my whole personality off L. I think that the religious metaphors and the religious like symbolism throughout the novel is really successful in creating like a lot of tension, and I like the themes of it. I'm a Light Yagami hater, and I think it does a really good job of portraying him as the villain, even though some people might not understand, because some people are Light Yagami defenders, which is crazy to me, but I think that like Light Yagami as the main character, who is just like a heinous, truly evil person who, you know, he doesn't believe in his own cause. He literally says in the beginning that, you know, he can't kill normal people because then people will think he's bad, so he kills criminals, and he sacrifices his own morals a lot in order to get ahead of L. I do believe the series kind of dropped off after L died. Spoiler, if you haven't seen it, it's been out for a really long time, so that's on you. But I think that Elle is a really well-written, interesting character. I think Mina is a really complex female character that's like super hot and sexy, but she has like way more going on in that little brain of hers. I think the art is just like beautiful, amazing, gorgeous. I mean, I don't really have to say much about Death Note. It's really famous for a reason, but I think if you haven't read it, which is crazy, it is worth reading. The anime is really good, and I do think that the anime does a really good job of dramatizing certain scenes that I don't think would get across in just the manga, but the artwork in the manga alone is worth reading the manga, but I do think that as like literature, it's really successful, and I think that it kind of turns the anti-hero trope on its head, and it says a lot about how willing people are to forgive someone if they're attractive, and like what it means to be a good person, and like even if you support Light Yagami's idea of like killing bad guys, where does it stop? And I think that it brings up like really interesting points, and there's the Death Note one shot that is also really good and I really enjoy, but as far as like in my top 5, this is in no order, this isn't my number 1. Death Note is for sure there. Like this artwork is gorgeous. This is the Korean version. One sec, let me see if I can. So it's like colorized, because it's like a special edition Korean version, but just the artwork is so beautiful, and I think all the characters are really interesting, and yeah, 10 out of 10. I also like that this one comes with this little sleeve that has L on it, because I love L. So I'm a big L stan. So yeah, Death Note for sure in the top 5, not number 1, just on the list. All of these are either Korean or Japanese versions, and then when I don't have a physical copy of, I have it back at home in America, but I do not have it here in Korea. But my second favorite manga, which you already probably saw, is Nana. I'm a really big fan of shoujin as a genre because I am a woman that is older, and so it's targeted towards me. And its target audience is reached. But Nana is so good. I think Hachi, Nana Hachi, like the main character of the story, is really complex and interesting, and she gets a lot of hate for honestly no reason, in my opinion. I think this does a really good job of explaining what it's like to grow up into an adult, and experience relationships and trauma and the things that both Nanas go through throughout the story. I think it does a really good job portraying like homoerotic female relationships, which is like really common for a lot of women to in their like young adulthood to experience homoerotic relationships with their female friends, because and maybe it's not common for women, but it's common for queer women. And I think that this is a really good example of how, like, female relationships can be more fulfilling. Female friendships can be more fulfilling than a romantic relationship can be. And it's not over. It's been on hiatus for a really, really long time, and I'm hoping that it'll come back and we'll get a happy ending for our girls, because right now the ending is so terrible. But on top of the story being really, really interesting and grounded and realistic, because it's about 2 girls who meet on a train on their way to Tokyo, and they wind up being roommates, and like what their friendship looks like, and they're both named Nana, but they couldn't be more opposite. One's like punk rock, one's like really girly and feminine, and their relationships with men and the complexities of just being an adult woman. And there's a lot of like sad parts and emotionally tumultuous parts, but on top of all of those really good themes and really good writing, to be honest, the art is also really good. The author used to be Yazawa. She used to be a fashion illustrator, and then she went into writing, being a mangaka, and this is really good, and you can see that in her fashion, and all of the characters are iconically fashionable. They, all famously wear Vivienne Westwood, even though they're so broke in their 20s. And it's just a really good series that I think not only women can relate to, but men also. And I think that the author does a really good job of portraying realistic characters in a not necessarily realistic situation. Yeah. So Nana is also in my top 5, obviously. Okay. Number 3 on my list, which I don't have a physical copy of, even though I could probably get a Korean one here, but I own a lot of them back home, so I am hesitant to buy more copies of it, is Haikyuu. Haikyuu is also really famous, really well known. I feel like I don't have to talk about it that much, but it is a sports anime. I myself am a bit of a sports hater, a sports in real life hater. I don't find it particularly entertaining. There's nothing wrong if you do like it. It's just not for me. I don't think throwing around a ball is very interesting. I just am not that into sports. I played sports in middle school. I was terrible at it. And as I've grown up, I just haven't liked it, sports, very much. However, sports anime, on the other hand, is something I thoroughly enjoy. I like a couple other sports animes like Blue Lock or Slam Dunk. I really enjoy both of those as manga and as anime, especially the art style. And Slam Dunk is so good. It goes bananas. But I think Haikyuu is just like a little different. Like, when we look at, like, Blue Lock and Slam Dunk, they kind of add these fantastical elements in order to, like, move the story along, so you're not just, like, watching a sports game, which is really good and done really successfully in both of those mangas and those animes. But something about Haikyuu is, like, really grounded in reality, and I feel like something that it does really well is making you like every single character in the manga and in the anime, I think that, like, well, obviously people joke that Oikawa is like the most evil character in anime, which is just so funny. But like every single character you see work so hard, you see them strive for their goals, you see them get better and succeed, and you truly just want every boy to win. Of course, I like Hinata the most. I'm kind of an MC girly. I do like main characters a lot, but he is just like, he is my son. I gave birth to him. That is my child. He is so sweet. He is just like sunshine. He works so hard. He just wants to play volleyball. And he is so positive about himself and everyone around him and even the opposite teams. Like, he is just a really well-written main character. I think every character in the novel does a really good job of portraying just like teenage boys. Like, they're just boys playing volleyball, and their sportsmanship is so realistic, and the way they interact with each other is so realistic too. Like, I have taught high school boys, and that's just how they be. Like, it is just such a realistic portrayal of teenage boys, and I think that that is so sweet and so real. It has this, like, slice of life feeling, but it obviously is a sports anime, so it has these small plot lines that help make it exciting, and you're cheering for the team you like the most, which is obviously the main team, but you're also cheering for the other teams, and it's like you don't want them to lose either, because you see every single side, and I just think Haikyuu is really good, and it's really cute, and it's been, the movie's coming out, I'm pretty sure, so it's been kind of popping off here in Korea, which has been really great for me, because that means I can buy merch. So thanks, Korea. I love that you love Haikyuu, because it makes my life really easy. But yeah, Haikyuu is on my list as well. It is one of my top 5. I really like it. Another one of my top 5, which is the fourth one that I'm talking about, is Bleach by Tite Kubo. I love it. I am a shonen girl. I do like shonen, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, with liking shonen and enjoying shonen. And I think that, like, there is a lot to say about, like, JJK and Chainsaw Man, and, like, how they, like, push the barriers. Well, let's not talk about the end of JJK, but at the beginning of JJK and Chainsaw Man, they kind of push the barriers of what it means to be shonen. But something I really like about shonen is it's kind of like stereotypical, like, corniness, like, you know, like a lot of things like Naruto, you can find Naruto and everything, you can find Hunter x Hunter and everything. There is a sort of like predictability about a lot of shonen. And that's what I enjoy about it. I like that it's not so serious, and it's just fun and good to enjoy. That's not to say that ones that are serious are not fun. But personally, that's just what I enjoy. Obviously, like, he has like a couple of one-shots, Tite Kubo does. And he also did like Burn the Witch and stuff. But Bleach is my favorite by Tite Kubo. And I think that's how you pronounce his name. But I'm not 100% sure. But anyways, I love Bleach. This is a copy from Japan, which is really cool. It is cool owning it in the original languages it was published in. But not only is the story really interesting, I think that Ichigo is just complex enough. And he does a really good job of portraying, like this kind of corny shonenness while also still making the story interesting. And I like that Ichigo isn't the most powerful, you know, user in his universe. I am a main character girly. I like main characters a lot, and I love Ichigo specifically as a main character. I think he's complex enough without being too complex that it distracts from the story. I think every character in its own right is interesting, and the art style is bananas. You're lying to me if you don't think that the art style is really good. I feel the same way about Haikyuu, but I didn't mention it while I was talking about it. But a lot of the mangas that I really enjoy have really interesting, unique art styles. I went to art school for like 6 months, so I guess art style is something that's really important to me. But I think not as much in the beginning, but especially towards the end, like even starting in the Aranka arc, I think that his art style just starts getting crazy. You can tell he's just getting so much more talented, and he is growing with Ichigo. And like, I was so excited to see the 1,000-Year Blood War get animated, and it was so good, and the art style lived up to the art art style in the manga. And yeah, I think that it is just corny enough, and that's what I like about it. Okay, and last but certainly not least, probably the least surprising, because I did like put a little screen grab of it in my first video. But if I had to rank any of them in this video, I would probably put this one at number 1, because it's Tokyo Ghoul. And I cannot give this manga enough praise. Sui Ishida, he does Chonen X too. His art style is like almost unparalleled in my opinion. Like the watercolor on the front of the mangas is crazy. Obviously, art has been something that's really important to me throughout all of these mangas. I've literally talked about it for every single one. But I went to, like I said, I went to art school for 6 months. So art's something for me that can really like propel a story forward and make it more successful than like if the art was bad. And his art is really good. But on top of his art being really fantastic, I think that Kaneki as a tragic hero is really complex and something that we don't see in a lot of seinen, shonen, shojin, or shoujo. I think that Kaneki's story is just tragic, and he keeps losing, and I think that that's something that we don't see a lot, except for like in some other seinens, which I think personally do it less successfully than Tokyo Ghoul does. Guts, berserk. I think that Kaneki is so complex and so well written, and I think that all of the characters in the story react realistically to the situation that they're in. Like if this was a real life thing that was happening where ghouls were going around and eating people, this is how people would act in real life. And I think Kaneki's reactions and actions in the story are all justified and normal, and he's just a human, and seeing him go from good to bad to good to other things is so interesting, and I believe that it should get a reboot. This one is Japanese. I got it in Japan because, well, I didn't get it in Japan, but someone got it for me. But it's really hard to find the actual Tokyo Ghoul written in English, just like the original, not Tokyo Ghoul Re, because I don't care about Tokyo Ghoul Re. I do not like it. I like the original Tokyo Ghoul. I think that it needs a reboot because the original anime finished before the manga was done. And although the ending is really good for the anime, and I do like it, and I do believe that it's like an honest rendition of what Kaneki might do, I think that the anime itself doesn't do the manga justice. Like, I'll see if I can find that like meme comparing the I am ghoul scenes from the manga to the anime, and just the stark difference to how Kaneki is portrayed when he embraces his ghoul side is like crazy, because in the manga he is so much more heartbreaking and devastating to read, and you love him through all of these phases, and you would just wind up liking him more and more and pitying him more and more, and you're experiencing all of these tragic things alongside him, as opposed to reading it from like an outside source. It's like you yourself are in the story, experiencing these things with him. And I think that Sui Ishida does, I also don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, I just assumed, but I think he does a really good job of writing female and male characters, and none of them are over sexualized, and even though they're all adults and he easily could have done that, he doesn't. And I think that as a tragic hero, Kaneki kind of turns that concept on its head, and he's still really complex, and it's not just like, oh, he's so sad all the time, boo-hoo. It's like he deserves goodness, and you just love him, and he's also my son, and I also gave birth to him, and I love him so much. So yeah, that is probably my number 1 favorite manga, but the rest aren't in order. Okay, so that's it. That's my top 5 favorite manga. I feel like I really said nothing and everything all at once, but I do watch a lot of anime, and I do read a lot of manga, so I have a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts on these things and on these genres. So Yeah, but that's my top five, and I'll probably continue to talk about stuff I read as I read it, because I do read a lot of manga. We're not going to talk about what's going on in JJK right now, because I don't think I have anything nice to say. But yeah, so that's my top five, and I hope you enjoy it. My next one, I have a really fun topic idea, and I hope that people like it, but I guess we'll see. Okay, bye.